Baye here for MuscularDevelopment.com. I am here with IFBB Pro Don Long, just wrapping things up from the 2015 Masters National Championships. Obviously Thursday we had men's physique and some teens and women's bodybuilding going. Today we just had men's bodybuilding prejudging in the morning, finals that night. Just got done a little bit ago. Great show, ran good as always. Actually moved it to a 3-day format. Seems to be a little bit easier on the media and the athletes.
Yeah, definitely, and me too. So it gets over a little bit quicker to where you're not here like all night, and you had some time in between the prejudging and the night show. Whereas last year, I think it almost ran right into each other. So
yeah, they went right into each other. We had about a 15-minute break and pulled about about a 17-hour day. So it was long. We're gonna go over some of the stuff, guys. Some of our over 35 pro card winners, over 40, and touch on the guys who won the over 50 classes and things like that. Why don't we start off with yesterday? We didn't get a chance to talk about our teenagers and our collegiate guys. We had a couple teenagers that really stood out. Davian Hill didn't get his overall. He won his middleweight class in the teens and in the collegiates. I mean, what can you say about a kid who's still a teenager and looks like that?
Yeah, you can just see if he keeps at it, which I imagine he will, because I think he's been here before. This kid is going all the way for sure, because he has, the genetics to get that ripped, and he has actually a good shape to his physique. Now, of course, in time, he just puts on a little bit more size. He's going to be dangerous, so.
Yeah, and a polished look. That's, one of the things that we're not used to seeing, not only from teenagers, but even younger guys at a national level, is they don't quite have that polished look. He had, if you take a little bit of older guy's head and you add a little bit of weight, he looks like I'm not going to say he'd fit in the 212, but a physique like that with a little bit more weight, he can be very competitive.
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure. And then, like I said, the sky's the limit for him. And then I think he could probably, do away with, in this, everybody's kind of, hard on the Dream Dan. I think that that might even hurt him a little bit, but other than that, his condition is just top notch. I think he had to be even. He was definitely more shredded than the overall winner, but I guess the overall winner had a more pleasing package. So, but he gave him a run for his money for the overall. So
yeah, and talking about the winner, Mo Abu, his name's a little bit longer, but I know I'm going to butcher it, so we're just going to stick with Mo Abu. A lot of muscle for a teenage kid. Some of you guys might not know this. I didn't know until we talked to Mo. He actually took second to Cody Montgomery last year. Cody won the heavyweights, as you guys remember, in the teen. Mo actually won the light heavies last year, didn't get his overall. This is a big teenager.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and once again, he has a bright future coming up too. Once again, when these 19-year-old guys looking this good, it really surprises me. And not only that, they have to have the mental aspect, because they can't be like your average teen to be doing this and being that good. So I hats off to him big time. He's a really good bodybuilder.
All right, now our collegiate class. Not a lot of guys. In fact, we had a lot more guys in the teen class than we did in the collegiate. Some of us in the front row were joking and said, hey, look, college kids, most of us are broke when we're in college. I know I was. Traveling to Pittsburgh, putting yourself up in a hotel, whether it be a flight, that gets expensive. You're not on your mom and dad's roof anymore. So we didn't really see the numbers here in the collegiate class. But again, we saw Davian Hill winning the middleweights. He looked fantastic. Our overall winner, Goslin, he looked really good. And I think it's fair to say that, if he was the only guy or you threw another 10 heavyweights in there, he probably would have still walked away the winner.
I think with this type of physique, too bad he couldn't have someone else to compete against, but he did bring a good package. He's very aesthetically pleasing. And so, I think if other athletes had been in there, he still would have came out the same victory. So,
and that's one of the things that you got to give the kid credit for. It's you diet for a show. You don't know who's going to be there. Yeah. And if you're a real competitor, you never really want to be the only one there. A lot of people are going to say, hey, it was an easy trophy. But
but when you bring that type of body, people are going to respect it. Anybody can clearly see he's a top-notch athlete, so it makes no difference, So.
All right, well, we're going to give some love to some of the older guys before we get into the meat and potatoes of this. Our over 40, 50 pro cards, we had Mark Bacon and Jerry Murray. Our over 60 winner, David Crawley. Our over 70 winner, Arthur Peacock. And our over 80 winner, Jim Arrington, winning, I believe, his third pro card. You guys probably saw pictures on him. I talked to Jim a few years ago, and his basic explanation, some of you guys might be wondering, well, why is he taking 3 pro cards and keeps coming back? Basically, first off, he likes doing this master show, and he says if he wants to do an NPC show in California, he takes that IFBB pro card, and he can't even do that anymore. So if he wants to jump into a local show in California, he can do that. He despite being 82, he's sharp as a tack, and he knows that he's not going to fit in on any IFBB stage. So I think I speak for everybody when I say we're happy to see Jim here.
Yeah, definitely. Every time I see it, it's just impressive that a guy that age, honestly, we know 80-year-old people that can barely walk, and then he has a six-pack at that. So, and I don't blame him for not taking the card. Again, he wants to keep at it, stay active, and otherwise it'll probably just shut him down. Jose Raymond didn't take his car for 3 or 4 years either. So at the time, So,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving into a little bit more of the meat and potatoes, we have our over 35 division. Just going to go with our pro card winners. It was a really good show. So I will start off with there was a lot of depth. In the overall, we had Dave Grata, our overall our heavyweight winner, took the overall. Interesting enough, I spoke with Dave afterwards. This is a guy who a few years ago, he fell like 37 feet, so almost 4 stories, broke his femur, tore his tricep clear off the bone, and usually with injuries like that, especially being a little bit older, granted he's only older 35, those are injuries that are usually pretty visible on stage. He didn't look to me like a guy who had suffered a broken femur in a fully torn tricep.
Yeah, all his muscles seem to be in very good tack. His quads were great, so I didn't notice it at all until you just told me earlier. So yeah, it was very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, and he definitely brought the conditioning. It was a tough heavyweight class. We had some other really good guys. We had George Asmus. George is he's short, but he's about as big as you're going to see at this level as a heavyweight.
He's a tank for sure. I mean, that guy was huge. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and some of the other guys, we had Chad Reed training with Dominic Cardone. Chad also brought incredible conditioning.
Yeah.
Chris Havocost, really big heavyweight. But at the end of the day, the judges really seemed like they were favoring conditioning in some of these classes. Moving forward, we also had Michael Pariso, a light heavyweight. 35. He won the light heavyweights, in the 35. A little bit of a contested class. Actually, your guy, Corey Henderson. I preferred his lines and his aesthetics over Michael's. Thought he lost a little bit of ground in his back double bicep and his rear lat spread, but it was kind of one of these apples and oranges type situations.
And those things we talked about with his back, although once again, I'm going to be biased, but I thought he won more shots and he had, once again, the better physique, but and the condition was kind of give or take. But from the back, I do think the guy had a little more separation in the hams and a little more muscularity to his back. And that's the way the judges saw it. So
yeah, and we had our middleweight. Brett Campanella looked fantastic for a middleweight. And continuing with the trend of the judges giving away awarding for conditioning, John Silva taking the super heavyweight class. Now, he's probably the smallest or one of the smallest. And now, mind you, I say that relatively speaking. He's still a big dude, really good quads, undersized in that division, but he was absolutely peeled to the bone, turned around, his hamstrings, his glutes, everything was dialed in, lost to a much, much bigger Ron Sargent.
Yeah.
And Ron really overpowered him. What did you think about that decision?
I think that's the thing. There was this condition. If Ron had been a little bit tighter, because he was an impressive guy. This guy's a monster. I mean, he's like a gorilla, honestly. But if his condition had been a little bit dry, his skin been a little more crisp to it, he would have probably surely took the win. But the guy, like I said, out-conditioned him, and that was the name of the game, I guess, today anyway. So
absolutely. All right, moving forward into our over 40. Again, we had 4 guys walk away with their pro card winners. One of the things, the guys are talking about, more guys are getting their pro cards at Masters. They shouldn't be giving them away as easily. One of the things I think the guys are forgetting a little bit is that usually in these shows, when you're talking about weight class winners not winning pro cards, it's almost always super heavy, light heavy.
Yeah.
And with the 212 division growing and with these promoters at the 212 trying to get more numbers, I mean, that's still one of the things we're seeing is a lot of the 212 shows are still smaller. They're not getting quite the numbers. Offering up another pro card, like we said, we had Brent Campanella, absolutely fantastic middleweight. And then we look in the over 40s, David Hebert, a welterweight. This is going to have a guy who, had they offered 3 pro cards, he wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah.
Now he's got a chance to get into the 212.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so many 212 shows now, and you do need more people to film. One time, it was a smaller group of, say, 4 or 5 212 shows. Now you have more, so you're going to have to fill them up somehow. Otherwise, to us on the outside, it's going to seem like a boring show if they're not, full of some type of decent athletes. So I think it makes sense.
Right, and one of the things that we've also seen, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I think a lot of times people forget that some of these guys that are turning pro as middleweights are really advancing in the 212. The guy that comes to mind first for me is Guy Cisternino, turned pro a few years ago. If I'm being just completely blunt, when Guy turned pro, I said to myself, I don't know what he's going to be able to do in the IFBB. He's 176 pounds. He's not going to be able to put on the size on that frame. And here we are a few years later, and he's winning 212 shows. A friend of mine, but man, he shut me up in a hurry.
Yeah.
So it's good to see these middleweights and these welterweights earning their pro cards.
Yeah.
Getting on to the other guys, we had Brian Hoydick. Brian won the light heavyweights. Again, a close class. He actually beat out Mike Pariso, who won the over 35, and your guy conditioning again.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and that's if the guy was in better condition. His shape wasn't necessarily the best on stage, but once again, condition does win shows sometimes, and that's the way it goes. Simply, the guy brought his A game as far as condition, and that's the best he can do, and that's what the judges rewarded. So,
All right, our super heavyweight winner, one of Matt Porter's guys, Zdenka Volprada. We've seen him here a few years before. This is a big guy with good lines for a super heavyweight. I don't think he's much into the super heavyweights. I think he's just over 225. He might have even been under 230, but that goes to show scale doesn't really count for much.
Yeah, I think I might have been even talking to Matt to where they kind of boost him into the super heavyweight, knowing that once again that might have been his best shot, and of course it paid off. That was a good decision for them to make. He walks off with a pro card, So
yeah, he definitely showed up full. I don't know that he really sacrificed any conditioning going into the supers. That takes us to our overall winner, Michael Lynn. Wednesday night, I put pictures of Michael up at weigh-ins. I said to myself, I've been to enough of these shows. When I see a guy that looks that good at weigh-ins, I kind of said, I think this guy's going to be hard to beat. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think the pictures that I took did him much justice, and he was having some issues with his color here this weekend. So the pictures that you guys see of Michael, I don't think are going to do him justice. But again, conditioning. He was pretty sharp from head to toe, and he had a body that doesn't look like an over 40-year-old guy's body.
Yeah, he had some youth. I mean, the skin was thin. I mean, his condition was excellent. Yeah, so he definitely didn't look to be in his 40s. He definitely couldn't hang with any 20-year-old. Put it that way, 20-some-year-old. He was definitely brought his A game for sure. So
yeah, all right. Well, guys, that's the name of the game. At Masters Nationals, we got guys who have been around for a while. They know what it takes to get into shape, and this weekend they proved that they could, and the judges proved that hey, we're rewarding conditioning at this show, and hopefully they move that trend into the IFBB and really put that sort of emphasis on what we like seeing with guys coming in peeled. So that's going to wrap it up for us today, guys. Tomorrow we have bikini, figure, and women's physique wrapping up this 3-day weekend here. That starts at 8 a.m. for the prejudging as well. Finals are going to start at 5. As always, we got our play-by-play pictures, all the calls going in, or call-outs rather. Dan Ray's professional photographies and the results and everything else. So make sure you stop back for that. But for now, we're going to wrap it up. So once again, this is David Baye with IFBB Pro Don Long, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for MuscularDevelopment.com at the 2015 NPC Teen Collegiate Masters National Champions.